Robert Paylor, welcome to Live Inspired with John O'Leary.
John, I am so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Man, it's with great excitement that I get to bring on a guy that I really look up to, respect, and quickly consider a friend. That's exactly how I feel in preparing and now bringing your story to our audience. For those who haven't yet heard of you or what you've overcome or what you're doing today, if you were to bump into them in a grocery store and you exchange names and niceties, and eventually they say, Robert, tell me about you, man. In a nutshell, when they ask you that, how do you respond?
Yeah, so I would say number one, like I love the outdoors. It's one of my big things. So when I think of the things that are fun, everything's outside. Fresh oxygen coming into my lungs. Love outdoor cooking. So if we're in a grocery store, that's a good thing. I've probably got a bunch of meat in the cart, getting ready to throw something on my Traeger, which I love. I'm an athlete. I'm a husband. I'm a father, and I'm a quadriplegic. I know nobody can see my full body, but I'm in a wheelchair. And I've spent the last 8.5 years in this wheelchair. I broke my neck playing rugby, was told I'd never walk again. Now I've just had this incredible recovery, but have this meaning now to share this story with others. And that's what I'm most excited about in my life.
I find it beautiful and ironic that this man who I think so many folks would lead with that story of being in a wheelchair,
Yeah.
being quadriplegic, struggling mightily physically in life, and I'm sure in other areas that came up after you talked about your love of barbecue, your love of cooking, your love of fresh oxygen in your lungs,
Yep.
your role as an athlete, your
Yeah.
role as a dad, your role as all these other things came before this inflection point.
Hmm.
Talk briefly about that.
Yeah, quadriplegia, while it is the things that people see first in me, it's definitely not the only facet about me. And it's not something that I've completely tied up my identity or my limitations in. I think so much of what I'm proud of is not just the physical accomplishments I've had above and beyond what doctors prescribed as my future. It's being able to wake up every day with that joy, that gratitude, that zeal for life. I think that's really the most impressive thing I've done and what I'm most proud of is just waking up every day with a smile on my face,
Mm.
regardless of my challenges. So when I look in the mirror, I don't see the guy in the wheelchair. I see me. I see my passions, my loves, and those things that I'm excited to do.
I'm going to take you back in time a little bit. I know you are wild about not only your immediate family, your wife and your recently newborn baby,
Yeah.
but you're also wild about the family of origin. Talk about growing up.
Yeah, so I grew up in the Sacramento Valley, which I still live, and it was just hot summers and sports growing up for me. I was just born with a baseball, football, basketball in my hand. Those are my first three traditional sports that I played, as do many young men across America. And I really had a knack for football. I was always the biggest guy in my class or on the team, and I knew how to hit people. I loved it. I was good at it. And then I go over to Jesuit High School in Sacramento, which just so happens to have the best rugby team in the nation. I think it's 11 national championships now. And have you ever seen a rugby game, John? Have you ever watched any of it?
I'm going to talk to you about that as the
Yeah.
interview progresses. The most wild men I knew in college had one thing in common.
Yeah.
They all played rugby, man. So yes, I've seen rugby games. I've seen the guys who partake in rugby games. And it's orchestrated violence where you then hug the guys that are playing against you
Mm-hmm.
and have a beer afterwards. It's a
Exactly.
really unusual sport.
It's so different. It's very non-American. It's kind of got that European vibe to it where, yeah, we'll beat the snot out of each other for 80 minutes. But afterwards, once you're of drinking age, you're going to a pub or bar, going to someone's house, you're talking about the game. It's like, and then you'll have like drinking games afterwards where it's just as important as the actual match. It's so funny. We had such a good time with it. And even in high school, I would remember we'd have pizza and Gatorades after the game, and people coming in from all over the world to compete against Jesuit high school. So getting that international global flair to the game, I just absolutely loved. And I remember though, the first time I even heard about rugby was when one of my best friend's moms had gone to New Zealand. And it's their national sport, right? She had to go watch a match of the famous New Zealand All Blacks.
All Blacks.
Yeah, and it was in this game that a player lost his mouth guard, but he still plays on. He goes into contact and he bites through his lip, like teeth through the skin. I'm thinking, That's insane. I'm never going to do that because I still have a head on my shoulders. But lo and behold, here a few years later, I find myself over at Jesuit where it's a very different culture. They're throwing around a rugby ball at recess. They got their short shorts in their backpack, and they had just won another national championship that year. I decided to go in and I just fell in love with the sport. It's continuous, it's full contact. There's that global camaraderie to the game that I love so much. Got MVP my first year playing, and rest was kind of history. I
Mm.
decided I was going to be a rugby player.
What does rugby teach you about sacrifice or teamwork or life? Like, what are you learning on the pitch, the field, about sacrifice, teamwork, and life?
Tons, tons. And a lot of people knowing what happened to me will ask if you do you regret the decision playing rugby? If you could go back and convince yourself to not play the sport, would you, knowing what happened? My answer is absolutely not, because this game taught me so much about life. First, you asked about sacrifice. Rugby is a very difficult game. It's 80 minutes long at this collegiate level. That's
Okay.
broken up into just one short 10 to 15 minute halftime in the middle. So it's continuous. You're working. I would remember I would be playing, and you don't get rolling substitutions. Once you're substituted out, you're gone from the game. So oftentimes if you're starting, you'll play a full 80. And I would be looking at the clock, just wheezing, lungs are burning. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's been 10 minutes. It's been 10 minutes. We have so long to go. But you keep going for that sacrifice, for your teammates. And you're going into contact. You are going to experience pain in this sport. And you don't just do it for your own glory, you do it for your teammates. You do it for the people in the stands, the people who came before you, those who are coming after you. That's something that these really great programs I was able to compete for really stressed, and that helped keep me going through that
Mm.
sacrifice. And then just that team aspect, when you're going through difficult moments like that for each other, it just brings you so close. And I can't find a replacement for it, to be completely honest, where I'm just singularly focused on one moment. I've found some stuff that's close in life, but nothing that just has that factor that rugby gave me. So I'm really grateful for that period of my life.
We'll end, I think, near the end of our time together talking about your job today. But I
Mhm.
actually think speaking, when you vulnerably roll onto a stage and open up your heart
Mhm.
and vulnerably share for your team in the audience and celebrate the best of what you've learned and what it means for them going forward. Like to me, that's about as close as what you're talking about to what you were just referring to on the rugby pitch.
It is. And that singular focus where you're just locked into one
For sure.
conversation. Nothing else exists in the world. It's just what you're doing there. That's the closest I've ever gotten to being on the rugby pitch.
So you're wildly athletic. You're incredibly intelligent. You could have gone to any university anywhere in the country or beyond. Why'd you go to a school in California called UC Berkeley?
Yeah, so UC Berkeley has a famously successful rugby program as well. 34 national championships as we're speaking right now. The tournament has only even existed for 45 years. So you
Okay.
can look at any team at any level in any sport in America. I think the only team that has more hardware than us is the Harlem Globetrotters. And their games are rigged. We're not playing the Washington Generals every week.
Allegedly a ring. I don't know if they're rigged or not, man.
It's just
I'm cheering
amazing.
for the Generals.
That's right. Yeah, they'll give one of these days. They'll get theirs. But when you're going up playing rugby in America, you want to go play for Cal. It's the Duke basketball. It's the Alabama football of their heydays. I mean, it dominates US rugby. It's also a couple hours away from Sacramento, where I live. It was a very natural pipeline for people to make their name at Jesuit and then go over to Cal and then go play for the United States or go play internationally. That's what I wanted. And it was in my junior year that, we're doing all the recruiting at the end of the year and into senior year. I go to their camp to get recognized, did very well. And they eventually tapped my shoulder to go play for this program. So I was just thinking, this is a dream for me, right? Not only is it the best collegiate rugby program in America, I
Yeah.
know I want to be a business major. It's got an incredible undergraduate business program. It's the number one public university in the world. Sorry if there's any UCLA fans out there, we can discuss number one later. But I was just had every factor for me that I could possibly want. I knew that by going there, I wouldn't just be the best rugby player I could be the best student I could be, the best man that I could be, and would really be maximizing my potential. So it was a no-brainer. Go Bears all the way.
Robert, my friends who played rugby back in college, I went to a school in the Midwest called St. Louis University,
Hmm.
go Billikens.
Yeah.
So the Billikens and the Bears have had a couple battles before on the basketball courts.
Oh yeah.
They would end up with injuries occasionally in games or after games, and they were usually like soft tissue or maybe a broken finger, broken
Yeah.
arm, like kind of usually minor stuff. Did you consider rugby to be a dangerous sport?
Yes, and as I talk to people, I try not to shy away from that too. Now, we'll get into what happened to me. It is an incredible statistical outlier what happened to me with my catastrophic spinal cord injury. Usually, the worst you're going to see is the torn ACL, a lot of shoulder injuries that you'll find in rugby too because you
Hmm.
don't have any pads and you're going to a lot of contact. So I knew that there was this inherent risk in the game, and I don't want anybody to overlook that. It is a dangerous game, but not dangerous to the point of catastrophic injuries like this. This whole journey has really helped me to lean into player safety and using what's happened to me as an example to never happen again. What happened to me was illegal. We'll go into that further, but the laws of rugby really do protect these catastrophic injuries from occurring. It's just
Right,
important that we realize you can be very physical, just do it within the laws of the game, and we can keep this a game, not something that's this
right.
potentially life-threatening or life-changing event that can happen to someone.
For you, it happened sophomore year at the national championship game. Where was the game being held?
It was in Santa Clara.
And what's the vibe like? Like, walk us through the buzz in the stadium and on the field and in the locker room. What are you guys feeling and thinking and seeing?
It is the day that your legacy is made. You know, when you're an athlete and when you're a rugby player, all you dream about is being on NBC Sports, on national television, playing for that national championship game. Because when you win a national championship, you're not just the national champion for the day. You are a national champion for the rest of your life. And this is something where I was thinking I've worked my entire 20-year life towards this accomplishment. I dreamed, I prayed about it, I worked for it, I sweat and bled for it. Here we are. I had earned a starting spot as a sophomore for the number one team in the nation. This wasn't an easy or common thing to do. Everybody who's on this team was the MVP of their team. They were a high school All-American. They're probably an All-American right now. You got to earn your keep. Here I am playing the lock position, which is bigger guys. It's about tight end size if you were to equate it to football. So 6'5", I'm 245 pounds at 20 years old, moving the field for 80 minutes. You really had to develop physically and get mature that way so that you could handle this contact. It's a workhorse position. So I got these butterflies in my stomach. There's nerves. I know it's going to be difficult. I know we're fighting for a big title here, but more than anything, it's excitement. We had a very good team that year, going for what would become our 32nd national championship in the program's history. And we're playing Arkansas State on this day. Now, I'm no American rugby historian, but I don't think they've ever won a national championship. I think they competed for a few years before that and they lost. And like I said, we're going for number 32. We felt very confident going into this game. And I remember everything about that morning. I remember waking up a little too early and, I'm saying my prayers and I'm thinking about this game and I'm getting dressed. Unknowingly to me, it would be the last time that I got dressed so easily.
Mm.
And we have our pregame meeting, you know, nothing crazy. It's no rah rah, light your hair on fire type pump up session. Very much a been there, done that approach for us. Go over our game plan, stay cool, calm, and collected. Locker room, intense, very intense. I remember we had a trash bin in the middle of the room, guys throwing up in there from the nerves, guys getting taped up. We're looking at each other in the eyes like we're going to go to battle right now. We're going to lay it out all out here on the line. We had a really good pregame warm up, just firing on all cylinders and talking about how we're going to beat this team, bring home the trophy. So, that entire period, we got those butterflies in our stomach doing our thing, but very cool, very collected, ready to go bring one home for the program.
About how many people are watching in the stands?
Gosh, I wish I could give you these college football numbers where it's like tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people. I would imagine it's probably a couple thousand folks up there
Right.
in the
It's,
stands,
it's a big number.
Yeah,
And of the couple thousand, the biggest number are mom and dad. So your parents are in the stands.
they are them and family and just incredible supporters who are coming up to me after every game, giving me a good pat on the back.
I mean, why that stirs me is because they came to cheer and they came with the expectation of victory
Hmm.
and hugging you on the way home and then seeing you the following day. And yet what they're about to see is going to change their lives too. So
Yeah.
take us through the play that permanently shaped all of your lives?
Yeah, so it happened very early in the game. It was like a minute and a half in. We win the coin toss and we decide that we want to kick the ball off. We wanted to hit him first. So we line up, sprinting down that field. Let's go, Robert, give it everything you've got. They commit a penalty, so we do what's called kicking it into touch. Where they commit the penalty, we kick the ball out of bounds, and where the ball crosses that out of bounds line, we get an inbounds from there. We got a really good kick. We're about 5, 7 meters out from the goal line here. Very obvious mauling situation. Now, a maul is when the bigger guys, we group up in a single unit, we start pushing to advance the ball, and the
Yeah.
defense's job, they come straight in, they try to stop us from moving forward. It's a boiler room. It's where the big guys thrive. And I was a big guy. Big Rob, 6'5", 245 pounds. I'm put on this field to move people, moving people that don't want to move. We're just 5 meters away. I'm practically drooling here on the field, thinking, let's go, Rob, drive this thing in. But then as I do that, the opposing players, they're making these illegal moves. Referee's not calling anything. So first, 3 players enter in from the side of the mall, all infractions in rugby. You can't do that, but the ref's not calling it. And their number 8 comes in and he binds my head in a headlock. So he's got my chin pinned down to my chest. Normally in rugby, that's an automatic yellow or red card. You do that, you're gone from the game.
Why would that be something that would be a penalty?
Because if you have your neck compromised like that and you collapse, you're not going to be able to have your head up. So imagine you just slide across the turf when you fall in a situation like that. But if you're bound into that headlock and you collapse, which we're very soon to seeing, you can have a very catastrophic injury. But anywhere under the shoulders is totally on limits for rugby. But the head or the neck, you can't even touch it, or you'll get a
Okay.
yellow card. You get 10 minutes. If there's any sort of like dangerous play behind it, then you can get a red. You're out for the entire game, and you got 2 weeks suspension after that. It's very serious. But the ref's not calling it. So I'm thinking there's only a couple different courses of action you can take in a situation like this. One is you stand up, throw your arms out to the side, and say, "Hey, ref, what's going on? You gonna call this thing?" Number 2, you just keep moving forward. And that was my choice. So my back is flat, shoulders forward, legs are pumping. As I do that, another player chops me down by my legs. And this guy who's got his arm around my neck continues to improve his bind. He's working his entire weight down so I can't get my head up. I remember I just close my eyes, I grip my teeth, I feel this god awful crunch in my neck, and it's just poof. Can't move anything, can't feel anything, totally clear and conscious, just as aware as I am right now, but completely numb and motionless from my collarbone down. Now, what happened is as I was going down, because I couldn't get my head up, the top of my head made impact with the ground and my body kept going forward. So my forehead went against my chest, literally nose into my sternum. It snapped my neck. It got pinned there for a few seconds. And the disc in between my C5 and C6 vertebrae ruptured into my spinal cord, causing immediate and likely permanent paralysis across my body. My thoughts are running wild. I'm thinking, am I ever going to be able to play rugby again? That thing that makes me feel most alive? Am I ever going to be able to go back to school, see my friends, graduate, walk across the stage? Am I ever going to be able to have a job? Am I ever going to be able to meet a girl, get married, start a family? Who's going to want to date me like this? I pretty much saw a reality where I'm going to be in a wheelchair. My mom will take care of me. She'll point me to go look out a window, maybe take me outside so I can breathe some of that fresh oxygen. Or she'll point me at a TV, spoon feed me. One day she's going to die. And then I'm going to have a caretaker who just kind of keeps me alive. But I see this potential future where my life is just meaningless, pointless, and barely worth living is how it feels at that moment.
Man.
So keep in
And here
mind,
you are a minute and a half into a game that was going to be a national championship victory ultimately for you and the guys, and you're laying on the grass with a couple thousand people looking on and television watching in, unable to move anything. We do typically a pretty good job lying to ourselves, thinking, I just have to shake it off and I'll
yeah.
be fine. Well, in addition to concern about the long term, like what are you thinking is happening in your body? I mean, a moment ago, you're pushing a pile as a 6'5", 245 kid.
Yeah.
And now you're immobilized on the ground, unable to move a muscle. What are you thinking?
Everything. It was like my entire life was unfolding in front of my eyes. I mean, in the short term, I knew it happened. I knew I
Did
broke
you?
my neck. I immediately knew. I'd seen instances like this on TV before. The one that came up into my mind at that moment was about Eric LeGrand, Rutgers football player, special
Yeah.
teams guy, just an unfortunate mistiming of a tackle, and he was paralyzed. Now, I remember in his instance, his body went stiff, stiff as a board. Mine was completely limp, just every limb flaccid. But I knew I had this buzzing sensation, just intense pins and needles for about my collarbone down, kind of like when your hand falls asleep when you're taking a
Yes.
nap or something like that. Basically the same thing, but over my entire body, as intense as you can imagine. And I'm kind of taking this mental inventory, like I'm laying on my chest, kind of head tucked down and to the left. And I'm thinking, okay, first instinctually just pop up. That didn't happen. Then I'm thinking, okay, like activate your torso, like move your hips. Nothing. I look down at my feet. I'm like, wiggle a toe. I look down
Oh,
at my hand. I'm like, just twitch a finger, something. I mean, that anxiety is just sweeping over me, completely enveloping me. Keep in mind, the game is still going on at this point. The referee didn't even stop play, which is a whole nother mistake that was made on their part. I'm just thinking, my life completely changed right now. I'm living my worst nightmare, and I'll never wake up from it.
you eventually hear the whistle. They stop the play. Trainers come over, coach comes over, team comes over, family comes over. You make it to the emergency room, just speeding this up just a little bit.
Yeah.
What's the earliest prognosis from the physician who greets you in the emergency department?
So first, they kind of go through what we're going to do. We're going to take off your rugby gear. We're going to do an X-ray, CT scan, MRI, really see what's happening here. Do you have any questions? My question is, am I going to walk again? And at first, they say, I don't know. And I actually took that as some hope. Like there's something I can hang on to here. This might just be a stinger or something weird that we can figure out. I'll be walking out of these doors today, tomorrow. I do all those scans. Then my real doctor comes in, neurologist, got a bad look on his face. Very matter of fact, he says, Robert, you will never walk again. You will never move your hands. And we're going to do our best so that one day you can do something like pick up a piece of pizza and bring it to your face. And if you can do that, you've made it. If you can just feed yourself, you beat all the odds. And he also recommends a spinal fusion surgery to me. So he explains that the disc in between my C5-6 vertebrae ruptured into my spinal cord. He said that the damage to my spinal cord might only continue to increase unless we permanently fuse those two vertebrae together, which casts it to create some stability and sense of recovery. So he says it's my best chance at having a recovery, but it's a potentially life-threatening surgery. He tells me I have 1 hour to make a choice. Now, my faith is very important to me. And in this moment, I'm thinking I'm going to lean on God now. I'm Catholic. So I was thinking if I'm going to die on this surgery table, I need to get my last rites. So
Mhm.
I asked my spiritual director to send a priest over to give me the sacrament of anointing of the sick. That way, if I live, I've really invited God into this journey to help me through it. And if I die, my soul is going to be cleansed for heaven. That's what's going on in my mind. So I call my spiritual director, and before he hangs up the phone, he gives me this piece of advice that just changed everything for me. And it gave me so much power in what should have been a powerless situation.
Yeah.
And he said, Robert, throughout this journey, there's going to be so much that you can't control. But the one thing you'll always have control over is your mindset. So your positivity, your ambition, your willingness to wake up every day and fight this is up to you. And this injury can't take that away from you. So I got to think in that moment, I didn't have a lot. I didn't have the odds on my side. I didn't have some doctors saying that everything was going to be okay. And I didn't have these signs of life showing up in my body. But I had this choice to keep moving forward. It's a choice that never escapes us as long as we have breath in our lungs. And it's through realizing that that could really drive out so much of that anxiety and those emotions to focus and have mental clarity in a decision that would impact the rest of my life or end it on this day. Am I going to go into the surgery? I decided yes.
Yeah.
So the priest comes in, anoints my forehead and hands, performs the sacrament. I say my prayers with my family, rolled into the operating room. They put the anesthesia mask over my face. They count down from 100. I think I made it to 97, lights out, and that concluded the day for me.
And it starts the rest of your life, a life that will forever be different than the one you woke up with that morning. to get your rugby shoes on and go attack the game. Man, he almost died several times. You lose more than 60 pounds in the first month.
Yeah.
Pneumonia, high fevers, like it's a train wreck, difficult recovery. And it's hard to condense now years of struggle into a moment of difficulty. But was there a low water mark where you're like, my gosh, I almost won out?
There was. And it came a few months after, actually. I was in Craig Hospital in Denver, Colorado, the best spinal cord injury rehabilitation facility in the United States. I was so lucky to be there, but it's frustrating. I mean, I'm doing little things like picking up marbles, putting them into jars. They'll lay down a full deck of playing cards in front of me. I'll flip them over one by one, and I'm not succeeding every time. I mean, it's tedious, it's frustrating. And I think just a few months before this, I was putting 400 pounds on my back and squatting it. Now I'm just trying to flip over playing cards. What happened to me? What happened in my
Mm.
life? My dad was with me in that moment, and it was a weekend when I couldn't really distract myself with the rehab and pushing to get better. So we thought like, okay, let's cheer up my spirits. Let's go get some sushi. I love sushi. And I'm really having a pity party. I wasn't feeling good about myself. And I'm thinking I had all these things going for me in my life. And now because of something I couldn't control, and not even like a stupid decision I made, it's all gone. And I don't know if it's ever going to come back. And he pointed me to the purpose that my injury was giving to others. At that point, we started up a GoFundMe campaign. We were receiving a lot of messages from people on there and social media about how my injury was impacting them. I'm talking about people who are battling cancer, who just lost a spouse or a son or a daughter. They're like, Robert, this is the hardest thing I've ever gone through. But through your fight, your faith, your perseverance, I'm moving forward. Thank
Wow.
you. He points me to that. And he's like, Robert, you are doing so much more now in other people's lives than you ever could have done a lifetime of playing rugby. You might look back on this one day and think that this might be the best thing that ever happened to you. And the thing that really got it for me, he's like, Robert, I've worked really hard in my life and my career to have success. But I think the most important thing I ever did in my life was raise you. I think you are the most important thing that I've ever done. And that was my lowest moment. And man, he picked me up right out of it and got me ready to run through a brick wall where it wasn't, I wasn't excited. I didn't have a huge smile on my face, but I was like, you know what? This will never beat me. It might break my body, but it won't break my mind. I'm going to
Mm.
keep going. I'm going to keep moving forward, not just so I can walk from point A to point B on my feet, but so I can help people. I can have real meaning through this journey and give that gift to others. And that moment changed my life.
There's so much there. I think out of unpacking all the things we could from that story, the one that just opened up my heart the most was this dad's love of his boy.
Yeah.
And then and then most of us think of love as like, so what have you done for him?
Mhm.
Did you take care of him in his retirement? Did you buy him a new car? Did you like the point is you didn't do a thing.
Yeah.
You were immobilized, struggling to flip a card, and your father was so proud of his boy. I think
Mhm.
that is such grace. It's such unconditional love, and it's so needed these days. It's hinting also at faith. You've shared in your book and speeches so many stories of how you leaned into your faith. There's one that for me, I find it in particularly moving. You have a bunch of guys who you're doing life with who are also believers with you, and they come
Mhm.
in laying their hands on you.
Yeah.
Would you share that story with our audience?
So this was probably about 5 days after my injury that these very strong believers, friends of mine, come into the room and like, we're going to do a hands-on healing prayer and we're going to go big. God can do anything. Let's ask for a full, instantaneous, complete recovery for Robert. We're going to say, God, you can do anything. Let Robert get out of this hospital bed right now and walk out of these doors today. We're just going to go for it. And it was funny. It was one of the readings of that day in Mass was the healing of the paralytic.
Wow.
So we show up and we're getting a pretty serious God wink here. We're thinking this might actually happen. So they all lay their hands down on me. There was a priest in the room. He's kind of leading this prayer. And he's like, God, lay your healing hands down upon Robert. Grant him this full, complete, instantaneous recovery right now. Let him get out of these hospital doors and walk out. And in my mind, I'm praying as desperately as I've ever prayed before. God, please heal me. please, please give this to me. And I'm kind of bargaining with him. I'm like, if you give me this full recovery, I will spend the rest of my life sharing your goodness and what faith in you can really do. Let this miracle be something that just inspires faith in the entire world. And these people are saying, Robert, if you hear anything, if you see anything, if you feel anything, let us know. And I'm feeling nothing, to be honest. I'm just kind of, I'm letting these prayers out, just praying and hoping that I can start moving my legs and I start feeling those pins and needles come down and can start feeling all their hands in my body. Now, at this point, I had like deep pressure sensation. So I couldn't feel pain, hot or cold, but I could feel just the pressure of these hands on my legs and over my body. And as I'm praying this prayer, I have this epiphany, call it this realization that I'm not going to walk today and I'm not going to walk tomorrow or the next day or the day after that. But I will walk again one day.
Amen.
And it'll be my fight and my faith that will draw others closer to God. That's what's going to be the miracle through this journey, is just taking up my cross every single day and fighting this. And it was in that realization that I was filled with so much peace. I thought, that's it. I'm on board with that. And then I felt this other hand put on my right knee. Now, I opened my eyes. There's no hand there, but just as clear as I can feel all the other hands on my body, I feel another one there. And I just knew God's with me right now. He's been with me this entire time. He'll be with me for the rest of my life. I felt that hand on my knee for 3 months. It never went away. And it was a reminder during that most difficult point in my life that I'm not alone, that the creator of the universe cares about me. He loves me. He's going to keep me going. That was really another life-changing moment for me.
So good, man.
Yeah.
Everything about it. I think most of us, when we pray for healing, and that means a million different things to a million different people, most of us are looking for the instantaneous fix.
Mm-hmm.
And I think your realization and that hand on your knee for months and still that hand on your side now, your shoulder for your life,
Yeah.
reminds you it may not be immediate, but it will be. It will happen. Keep the
Yeah.
faith, keep stepping forward, and trust that the author of life can still work miracles.
Yeah, it really was the beginning of, I think, the greatest spiritual gift that has come out of all this for me, to realize that when adversity strikes us, we shouldn't just pray for the challenge to go away. Challenge is there. And can God take it away? Yeah. But while he doesn't directly cause all of our challenges, he at least has a permissive will to allow things to happen. And I think the real productive prayer when adversity strikes us is not to wish it away, but to wish for the strength and the gift that comes through it. And I think that's what I'm most grateful for in this. And that's that spiritual gift that I received, that now when I have challenges come my way, and trust me, they do, and I still deal with that same one very significantly to this day, I don't just pray it away. I'm like, God, give me the gift that's in there, that strength, that grace that I can take with me throughout the rest of my entire life and give it to other people. So that's what I really encourage other people to do in their prayers. When their faith is really important to them and they've been stricken by a challenge, don't just pray it away. Pray for the perseverance to get through this, to really learn and grow from it. That's what God's want for you. That's why the challenge is in front of you in the first place.
You went from being unable to move a toe to wiggling that toe and then that foot, and then in time standing up, and then in time stepping forward awkwardly, and then in time, I think remarkably going back to college.
Yeah.
And we're sprinting through agonizingly difficult therapy, Craig, among other places where you received it. The miracle happened. You did walk out. It's an amazing story. You do go back to Berkeley. What was that like for you?
It was amazing and difficult at the same time. And number one, amazing to be back. This was not supposed to happen. And I
Right.
especially wasn't able to live on my own. No caretakers. Now, I anticipated returning on my feet. I returned in a wheelchair, but I was so grateful for it. And I thought, I've gained back all this independence. I just want to use it. I don't want to hire a caretaker. I want to do this myself as much as I possibly can. So the amazing parts about it, an incredible show of team, just an incredible example of it. I don't know if you've ever been to Berkeley, but you've probably been to San Francisco, right? You
I've
know,
been to Berkeley.
it's hills
It's a
for
pretty nice
days,
place,
right,
man. A lot of
John?
hills.
It's a lot of hills, and I don't care who you are. You could be like the Lance Armstrong of wheelchair pushing. Eventually, these hills are going to win. I needed help. So what my rugby teammates did is they put together my entire schedule on a live updating spreadsheet. So all my classes, all my workouts, where I needed to go, when I needed to be there. and they would sign up for slots on the spreadsheet to help me get around. When I returned, the associate head coach of our team, Tom Billups, who's also our strength and conditioning coach, said, I'm going to keep running your rehab, and we're going to make sure when you get back here that your foot's going to be on the gas. So it was about 5 days a week, hour and a half sessions. It would be me with my coach there with all the other athletes, getting my steps in, working on standing up, balance, all of it. Some of my most significant progress was under Coach Billups, the rugby coach. So I wouldn't be walking today if it weren't for him. I wouldn't have graduated if it weren't for my teammates. And they helped me through my tough moments too, because I mentioned that it was also very difficult. This is when I took on that grieving process
Mm.
because the year before that, I was so busy. I was doing 8 to 9 hours of rehab every single day. I had a lot of visitors coming through, stuff like that. During the day, I was very busy over at Cal, but it was in the nighttime that I didn't have those distractions.
Yeah.
And it was time to take on what was a delayed grieving process at that point. And it hit me hard. I mean, I would sit there looping the video of when I broke my neck. I just watch it over and over and over again for hours, not really thinking, just feeling and just wondering, how did this happen? Why did this happen? Those kinds of questions. It's important that I did that. Grief needs to be taken on at some point. But what was really good is I didn't stay there. I woke up and I text my buddies, want to go get breakfast? Want to make some plans for this weekend? Something like that. Or just like have a FaceTime call. Anything to help me step outside of that grief for a little bit so I didn't have to take that all back on at once. And I could
Right.
really still have that joy for every day to wake up being back in a place that I prayed and thought and worked for so hard. So amazing and difficult, but when it all got through at the end of the story, just incredibly amazing. I made it through it and was so happy to be back.
When you're looping that video, you're watching this good-looking, athletic, bright kid with his entire future ahead of him, pushing a pile before being pushed down. And you're also watching arms around that kid's neck as he hits the ground and you see the chin push up against your sternum. Like,
Yeah.
but the point is, you see someone else's arm wrapped around your neck. Meaning, when you are then struggling at nighttime by yourself at Berkeley, you're also thinking not only about what you lost, but sort of around who took it from you,
Yeah.
and anger and finger pointing and a million emotions rightly yours. Talk now about forgiveness,
That
because I
was
don't know if you can fully grieve unless you also wrestle with forgiveness.
You're right. You're 100% right. Yeah, you can't really get over that grieving process for good until you learn to forgive. And that was the most difficult emotional battle that I endured throughout all this because what happened to me was entirely illegal. And I would just think of those moments. I'm not in this wheelchair today because I did something stupid. No, I was going out to achieve greatness in my life. And it wasn't even like just a fluke, just like a mistimed tackle or something like that. No, somebody did this to me. At first, we didn't really know exactly what happened. There was a lot of contact points. It was very quick, so I didn't have like perfect recollection of exactly how I was injured. And the game footage wasn't very good either from the press box. There was just the pile collapsed. I didn't get up, but it was in the days following that this evidence started to produce itself that I was very clearly bound around my neck and driven, by my neck, by my skull into the turf, causing all of this. So I saw these pictures and these videos, and I was just filled with a hate and a rage that I can't even describe. But like you mentioned, I couldn't eat. I couldn't breathe on my own. I was losing 2 pounds a day, 60 pounds that first month. And it was all because of the actions of another person. So I see this fork in the road. On one hand, I can really let this rage be the fire that fuels me. And I don't know, I think there's an argument that can be made there. I can see how somebody could maybe think that holding onto that rage would really push them and motivate them.
Yeah.
Or I could choose this path of forgiveness. And it was one of those WWJD moments, what would Jesus do thing. I was like, you know the answer, Robert. You don't want to do that road, but you know it's the one you have to take.
Right.
And I just kind of told myself, you know what? You're right. And I decided I'm just gonna say it whether I feel it or not. So people would ask me, Robert, what do you think about this guy? And I'd say I forgive him and I wish him well. But deep within me, there was still a lot of hatred within. That's not a kind of hate I could release by just saying a
Right.
few words. But I think as I only gave words to those positive emotions and that path of forgiveness, that I let time run its course. I kind of think of it as a fire analogy. If forgiveness is this journey where you're sitting around this pile of wood, someone lights this fire, it's for you to deal with. And if you want to just keep saying you hate this person, you're throwing wood on this fire, it's burning hotter, you're going to get burned. But if you choose to just slowly let that fire burn itself out, then you're okay. You're freed. And it was over
Mm.
the course of really years that I stayed on that path. And eventually my heart caught up with my mind and I could really feel that forgiveness. So a lot of times I think we think forgiveness is all about just removing guilt from someone who did us wrong. I think the real gift of forgiveness is in the freedom that it gives us. Forgiveness is really about us and removing those negative attachments. So there is just not a case where I can't think it's not the way to go. It's not the right answer. I'm so happy I did because I'm looking forward now and that's where I'm going, not looking behind myself.
And I don't think you could have moved forward to the direction that you ultimately achieved and where you're going next without taking the necessary step of begging yourself to let it go.
Hmm.
Of even when you were faking it at first,
Yeah.
yeah, forgive him. I wish him well. I'm sure it was a lie for a long time, but I hope it's not now because it sure changed your life. And, God willing, maybe he's listening to our conversation right now. I know he hasn't reached out to you. Is that true?
That's true. Yeah, he's not sent his apologies yet, but I do forgive him whether he's sorry or not.
When I came out of my ordeal, the thing I struggled with most, a lot of things, but one of them was knowing that I was unlovable, that I would not be able to find someone who saw perfect beauty within me.
Mm-hmm.
I read that same kind of limiting belief. Also, you swam in those waters for a while, and yet, my friend, you didn't live there. Talk about finding love.
Yeah, it's amazing. One of those stories, the first time ever where a guy met a girl and she changed his life. I'm so grateful for my wife, but I wrestled with those same thoughts that you just mentioned that I was unworthy of love. I looked in the mirror and I saw something that I wasn't proud of. I used to look in the mirror and I'd see this 6'5" D1 athlete. And I'd walk in the room, people kind of turned heads. I was really proud of that physical stature that I had, and that was gone. I look at myself, I'm in a wheelchair. I can see the ridges in my sternum and the atrophy over my body. So there was kind of just that exterior image component, but then just the sacrifices that this partner would have to take on. My life is very different now, and there's a lot of things I can't do that most people can. I don't have a choice of whether or not I take that on. It's either I take it on or I do nothing with my life. But for a life partner, that's a choice that they take on willingly and freely. I thought, who in their right mind would ever sign up for this? And my wife did and does every single day of her life. I remember when I first met her, I was going to start going to this Christian athlete group on campus. It's called Athletes in Action. And I had a hard time even wanting to go in the first place. I was on more identity things. I was like, I don't know if I'm still an athlete. I can't even get on the field or anything. And they're like, shut up, Rob, you're coming. So I decided I would. I needed some help getting there. So one of my friends brought Carson, my wife, over to help me out. And she came there first. And I'm thinking like, oh my gosh, tall, gorgeous girl. I'm gonna shoot my shot. Like I'm gonna do my thing here. And I thought it was a total swing and a miss. Like, Rob, move on, dude. She is not interested. But that was just me and my insecurity talking. Lucky for me, one of my best friends is now married, but at the time was dating one of Carson's best friends. And he's like, Rob, you're an idiot. She really likes you. So we went on a double date after that to go get some drinks. Just had the best time and went on our first date 1 week after that. And rest is history. We got married on November 11th of 2023, had our first kid December 15th of just this last year. And she taught me so much and I think that was the last hump that got me over that grieving process, really, and got me fully on board with my life and what I'm doing now, that there's this person who sees me and loves me for me
Yeah.
because of my challenges and everything that comes with it. That's what she loves me for. So I think everyone's worthy of love. And she's
Robert,
shown me.
she sees you in a wheelchair, but she also sees your goofy grin and your handsome face. And, there's a ton of positives you're bringing to the table.
Yeah.
How far into the courtship before you said to her, here's some things you need to know that are part of my future, that are part of
Mhm.
my struggles each day? Like, because people who see you realize, I bet that's hard to be in a wheelchair, like getting up steps. And
Yeah.
they do quick little judgments of stuff that, yeah, that is hard, but that's only the tip of the iceberg that's hard about my life.
Right.
So when were you direct with her and said, I need you to know what you're even considering signing up for?
I think we experienced a lot of them together, and I didn't really have to have that one heart-to-heart moment where I just laid everything out. And I was so lucky. Carson was also a caregiver at Cal. So she just knew a lot of the ins and out of what life is like with a disability, a physical disability like this. That
Mm.
really helped me. I mean, it was just, she's just a total godsend where God said, like, here you go. This is a match made in heaven. So that helped me quite a bit. But I think what most people wouldn't expect are those nights when we were in my dorm room and I was crying and she was my shoulder to cry on. And I still had those moments where I was thinking, man, just a couple years ago, here I was playing rugby, had it all. Now I don't. And that's hard. And she would be there for me every step of the way. So it wasn't so much like the physicals, here's what we can do, here's what we can't. It was really just her picking me up in my lowest moments and helping me move forward. And she changed everything for me, and we experienced all of it together.
Robert, I have a couple quotes I want to run by you, but
Hmm.
before I do, for someone listening to our conversation and they are thinking of the life they once expected for themselves, and in contrast to the one they find themselves living in today, whether that's relational, financial, spiritual, it could be a million things. There's a gap between where they wish they were and where they are. And they don't have that girlfriend in the dorm at Berkeley. They don't have the child that you are able to hold now, 6 weeks
Hmm.
old. They're struggling maybe by themselves. What encouragement or advice would you give them?
Yeah, if your faith is important to you, really lean into that because you are never alone. Just as I wasn't, neither are you. Now, while you might not have that romantic relationship or that child that you can hold in your arms, I think there's always people around us who are willing to care, who do want to help, but we have to ask for help. So I think so often we think that asking for help is this weak thing to do, is this last case resort. I think we totally need to flip that around. Asking for help should be the first case thing we do. It's a very strong and brave thing to do. So get on your phone and just send a text and let someone know how you're doing. Those people who care about you. That's something that I was
Mm.
always really intentional about, not just waiting for those messages to come my way, but really initiating it and sending them out. And it wasn't all of the time talking about, what I was going through and the difficulties that I was having. It was that moment of levity where I could step out of those challenges for a little bit, just be myself, just a guy with my friends. So I think that's so important. You just have to be in community. You need to connect with people. We're very social beings. You can't ignore that, especially when you're going through a tough moment.
So you are the author of Paralyzed to
Yeah.
Powerful. It's an incredible book. You're an incredible speaker. You're a gifted guy, man. I'm glad to call you my friend.
Thank you.
I've written down two quotes. I wrote down more than that, but I'm just going to ask you about two of them. One was this: if you can't control a situation,
Mhm.
don't let it control you. Unpack that for me. What does it mean?
Yeah, powerful quote. When I think about it, I think a lot about that forgiveness. Here's an external factor that I had no control over. Now I could take on that hate and that rage, and it's going to dictate me. It's going to control me. But I think in realizing those uncontrollables in our lives and being able to just let them go away, not assume that kind of control over it, that we really free ourselves. So that's a quote that I go back to quite a lot when those unexpected external things happen to me. If you can't control a situation, don't
Right.
let it control you. So forgive others, forgive yourself, let go of those uncontrollable situations in your life so you can focus on what you do have and what does make
Mm.
you better.
And this one's so good. So here it is. When you find yourself struggling, ask a different question. Compared to what?
Hmm. One of my
Talk about
favorites.
that, man. Compared to what?
Yeah, one of my favorites. Now, it's all about perspective. And I think perspective is the key to happiness. It's a very powerful tool, but you have to use it the right way. I think so often, especially when we go on social media, we're scrolling through everybody's highlights. Things are seemingly perfect. We compare that to what we're going through and we think our life stinks. There's a lot that we don't have that they do. I think we need to spend way more time looking at those people who are seemingly below us, who would give anything to be in our situation. The way that this compared to what thing came up for me, I was doing a pilgrimage in Lourdes, France, place of miraculous healing. I'm surrounded by people who are battling ALS, stage 4 cancer. They're like, Robert, what I would give to just have time. I'm talking to them and I'm thinking in my mind, remind me not to complain about anything ever again. What I
Yeah.
go through is hard, but compared to what? This isn't easy, but compared to what? There's so much that I can do. There's so much that I do have. So I don't want us using that phrase to dismiss our challenges. I think it's really unhealthy if we just dismiss our challenges. It'll never go away if we do that. I want us to use that phrase to put our challenges into perspective and realize that what we go through is overcomable. There's so much that we can achieve compared to what? Very powerful phrase right there. I use it every day.
For my final question before we shift into the Live Inspired 7, what did paralysis strip away from you and what has it given you?
Mm, man, nobody has even really asked me what it stripped away. I love that so much. What has it stripped away? It stripped away my pride. It stripped away my physicality in so many ways. It's made me a lot weaker physically. But I think it's in that weakness that I found my greatest strength. It's given me a perspective that I never would have had if this injury didn't happen. It's given me a depth of relationships I don't think I ever would have had if this never happened. And it's given me a purpose I don't think I ever would have had if I didn't break my neck. I can now go across the country, across the world, opening up my heart, putting it in someone's soul. And I wouldn't be sharing that story if all I did was just play rugby. It was only through that immense challenge and weakness that I was given this gift, this strength. So it gave me so much more than it took away. I've had to really look past the physical, but as I'm honest with myself and I think of these conversations that I've had with other people and just this meaning that I have in my life now, I would never wish this injury away. And do I wish I could walk again? Heck yeah, I work at that every single day, and I really do believe it's going to happen full time, but not at the cost of wishing away this gift that I now have to really be able to help others. It is something that is so much more important to me than being able to walk and have that physicality. So while my injury has taken much away, it's replaced it with so much more, and I'm very grateful for that.
And Robert Paylor, we are very grateful for you. So I'm going to guide you through the 7 questions in short order. Here they come. The Live Inspired 7 begin with, what's been the most impactful book you've ever read?
Oh, Seven Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey, masterclass book.
What's one positive characteristic, one beautiful trait that the little boy outside of Sacramento possessed as a kid that he wishes he exhibited as brilliantly today?
Ah, hmm. You know what? Joy for just like a day at home. Sometimes I like to be on the road too much, get outside, but I remember just waking up and playing. Like I need to spend more time playing like I used to.
If your home caught fire and all living things are out and you have an opportunity of running in and grabbing one item, just one thing, what's that one thing that you would come back outside with?
It would be the jersey that was cut off of my body. They cut it off in the hospital and we pinned it back together. It sits in a frame in my living room. Someone could offer me $1 million. I wouldn't sell it. It's the most valuable thing that I own.
What does it mean to you?
It's my starting point. It's where I was. It's day zero. And here I am today. It's 3,157 days since my injury. And I keep track of those days as pride. And I look at that jersey that was cut off my body and think like, yeah, world, you couldn't break me. Here I am. We stitched it back together.
Mm.
Yeah.
If you could sit on a bench on a gorgeous day and have a long conversation with anyone living or deceased,
Yeah.
who would you like to be seated next to?
It'd be my grandpa. I love my grandpa so much. He died a few years ago, about 6 years ago. His birthday would have been just last week. He so believed in me. I share his name, Robert Paylor. He went by Bob. He loved me so much, and I loved him so much. He's my godfather. I would give a lot to have a conversation with him and just show him what I'm doing with my life.
What's the best advice Rob or anyone else ever gave you?
It was the advice that I got before my surgery to control your mindset, that there's going to be so much I can't control with my life, but I always have control over my mindset. Changed my life in that moment, and it's something that I draw to a lot when I'm going through a tough moment.
What advice would you give yourself at age 20?
Be grateful for everything. I would be talking to myself right before this injury happened to me, and I would say, there will be difficulties that happen to you in your life, but there will always be people who love you, and there'll be meaning and depth and the richness of life in front of you. Don't ever lose sight of that, even in your toughest days. Be grateful for everything.
Robert Paylor, it has been said that all great people can have their lives summed up in one sentence. How would you like yours to read?
Mm. Robert Paylor never gave up. Yeah, I would love that. Just Robert Paylor never gave up. And I don't know, one of the things I thought about when I was like in Colorado looking at the Rocky Mountains is I'll be most proud of myself if I can live this life with joy, gratitude, and meaning. That's something that I reflect on at the end of my book, True Success. What is true success? Because my goal on day one was to be wheelchair independent. I'm not wheelchair independent. I've spent the last 8.5 years in this wheelchair. Statistics say I will spend the rest of my life in this wheelchair. And sometimes I got to think, like, does that mean I failed? Does that mean that I'm a failure? I think the answer is absolutely not because I never gave up. I have this joy, meaning, and gratitude in my life. I wake up every single day with that smile on my face, a mission that I'm working towards in spite of what happened to me and because of what happened to me. I think that's what I'm most proud of in my life. And it's just that ability to wake up every single day, take the
Mm.
challenge on, and not let it beat me. I think the only thing that means I lost is I gave up. So Robert Paylor never gave up. That's what I want people to say.
Robert Paylor, athlete, overcomer, faithful human being, husband, son, brother, father, rugby player, speaker, author of the book Paralyzed to Powerful, and friend to countless souls, man. I want to thank you for never giving up and for inspiring us to do likewise.
Yeah. Thank you, John. I have a smile permanently painted on my face. This just made my day, month, week. Incredible.
My friends, that is the voice of the wisdom of our friend Robert Paylor. My name is John O'Leary, and today is our day. What a gift. Live inspired.